What if I told you that the most powerful weapon you will ever possess isn't money, connections, or talent? It's your mind. Every single day, you make thousands of decisions. You manage fear, doubt, distraction, and chaos, often without even realizing it. And somewhere, buried beneath the noise of notifications, stress, and routine, is a version of you that is sharper, calmer, more focused, and completely unstoppable. That version isn't a fantasy. It's not reserved for Elon Musk, Serena Williams, or some monk on a Himalayan mountaintop. That version is you. Once you learn how to train the one thing that controls everything else, your mind.
Welcome to a high-performing mind. Strengthen your mind and live your best life. I'm your narrator, and over the next 35 minutes, we're going to go on a journey together through neuroscience, psychology, real-world stories, and practical exercises that will permanently change how you think, how you perform, and how you live. Stay with me. By the end of this audiobook, you won't just feel inspired. You will have a blueprint. And blueprints change buildings and lives. To truly bridge the gap between watching a video and mastering these results, you need the full blueprint in your hands. I've linked the original book below so you can claim the exact techniques and hidden insights that didn't make it into this summary. And let's begin.
Before we dive in, let me walk you through exactly what we're going to explore today. Because a high-performing mind, like a well-designed building, needs a clear architecture. Here's your roadmap. In Chapter 1, we'll explore the neuroscience of mental performance, how your brain actually works, why most people misuse it, and how neuroplasticity gives every one of us the ability to literally rebuild our minds at any age. In Chapter 2, we go into the 4 pillars of mental strength, the core disciplines that separate ordinary thinkers from elite performers. We're talking about focus, emotional regulation, resilience, and mental clarity. In Chapter 3, we explore the war against distraction. Because in a world engineered to hijack your attention, protecting your focus is an act of rebellion, and we'll give you the tools to win that war. In Chapter 4, we tackle stress, pressure, and the high-performance mindset. How to stop fear from being your enemy and start using it as jet fuel. In Chapter 5, we look at habits, identity, and the architecture of a great life. Why your daily routines are actually writing your destiny, 1 hour at a time. And in Chapter 6, we close with your 30-day mental upgrade, a practical, science-backed plan you can start the moment this audiobook ends. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a student, a parent, an athlete, or someone who simply wants to get more out of life, this audiobook was written for you. Now, Chapter 1. Chapter 1, Neuroscience of Mental Performance. How your brain actually works, and why most people never use it right. Here's something that will immediately change how you see yourself. Your brain contains approximately 86 billion neurons. Each neuron can form up to 10,000 connections with other neurons. That's roughly 100 trillion synaptic connections, more than the number of stars in 1,000 Milky Way galaxies. You are, quite literally, carrying the most complex structure in the known universe inside your skull. So why do most people feel like they're running on 20% battery? Always foggy, always reactive, never fully switched on? The answer is simple. They've never been taught to use what they have. Let me introduce you to the concept that will be the foundation of everything in this audiobook: neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. For a long time, scientists believed the adult brain was fixed, a finished machine that simply ran its program until it wore out. We now know that was completely wrong. Your brain is plastic. It adapts, It rewires. It grows. Every time you learn a new skill, the relevant neural pathways thicken, like a dirt path that gets paved when enough feet walk it. Every time you repeat a thought or behavior, that neural pathway gets stronger, faster, more automatic. Here's a real-world example to make this vivid. In a landmark study published in the journal Nature, researchers at University College London scanned the brains of London taxi drivers, people who had memorized the complex, winding street map of one of the world's most intricate cities. What they found was remarkable. The hippocampus, the brain region responsible for spatial navigation and memory, was measurably larger in taxi drivers than in the general population. And the longer a driver had been working, the larger their hippocampus was. The brain had physically grown in response to mental demand. Now, think about this. If cab drivers can grow brain tissue through deliberate practice of navigation, what happens to your brain when you deliberately practice focus, emotional regulation, and strategic thinking?
The answer is the same. Your brain grows, it strengthens, it performs at a higher level. But here's the flip side, and this is crucial. Neuroplasticity works in both directions. Every time you scroll mindlessly through social media instead of solving a problem, every time you give in to anxiety instead of pressing forward, every time you choose the easy distraction over the hard discipline, you are also building neural pathways, just not the ones you want. Your brain is constantly changing. The only question is, who's in charge of the renovation? Let's talk about the two systems that run your mental life, what Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman famously called System 1 and System 2. System 1 is fast, automatic, emotional, and unconscious. It's the part of your brain that catches a ball, reads a face, or feels fear in the dark. System 1 is brilliant. It keeps you alive, but it's also impulsive, biased, and easily manipulated. System 2 is slow, deliberate, logical, and effortful. It's the part that solves math problems, plans a business strategy, or talks you down from a bad decision at 2 a.m. High-performing minds don't just have a powerful System 2. They know when to use each system, and they train both, deliberately and consistently.
A fighter pilot in a dogfight cannot afford to consciously process every input. System 1 takes over, rapid, intuitive, immediate. But that pilot's System 1 is highly trained. Thousands of flight hours have written the instincts into neural hardware so reliable, they function like software. A chess grandmaster sees the board not as 64 individual squares, but as patterns, recognized instantly by System 1, refined by years of System 2 analysis. Magnus Carlsen, the world chess champion, once said that at the highest level, the game is won before the clock even starts, in the pattern recognition built during years of deliberate study. The lesson? Elite performance is the product of training System 2 until it becomes System 1. Or, in plain English, you practice hard things until they become automatic. One more concept before we move to the pillars. The default mode network, or DMN. When your brain isn't focused on a specific task, it doesn't go quiet. It activates a specific network of regions associated with mind-wandering, self-reflection, and daydreaming. This is the default mode network. Research from Harvard shows that people spend nearly 47% of their waking hours with their minds not on what they're actually doing, and that mind-wandering is consistently associated with lower happiness and productivity. But here's the interesting part. The default mode network isn't your enemy. Controlled mind-wandering, what researchers call constructive internal reflection, is where creativity lives, where insights are born, where your brain quietly solves problems in the background.
High-performing minds learn to toggle the DMN on and off deliberately. They focus hard when focus is required, and they allow strategic mental rest when it's time for synthesis and creativity. You'll learn exactly how to do that, starting in Chapter 3. But first, the 4 pillars.
Chapter 2. The 4 Pillars of Mental Strength. Think of your mind as a building. Any building, no matter how grand its exterior, is only as strong as its foundational pillars. If even one pillar is compromised, the structure is at risk. The 4 pillars of a high-performing mind are 1. Focus. 2. Emotional regulation. 3. Resilience. 4. Mental clarity. Let's go through each one in depth. Pillar 1. Focus. In 2004, the average human attention span was 12 seconds. By 2023, studies showed it had dropped to approximately 8 seconds, shorter than a goldfish, according to Popular Science headlines. While that specific statistic has been debated, the underlying trend is undeniable. Modern life is systematically destroying our ability to concentrate. And concentration is everything. Without focus, intelligence is wasted. Without focus, talent is squandered. Without focus, time, your most finite and precious resource, evaporates.
Cal Newport, author of Deep Work, defines 2 types of work. Deep work, cognitively demanding tasks performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your abilities to the limit and create real value. Shallow work, logistically non-demanding tasks performed while distracted. Emails, meetings, social scrolling. His research found that most knowledge workers spend less than 4 hours per day in genuine deep work. Elite performers, the ones who rise to the top of their fields, protect and maximize deep work time, often scheduling 4 to 6 hours of uninterrupted focus as the centerpiece of their day. Bill Gates famously took annual Think Weeks, 7 days in isolation, with no meetings, no calls, just books and deep thinking. Those retreats produced some of Microsoft's most important strategic pivots. The action for you? Start small. Commit to one single 90-minute block of completely distraction-free deep work tomorrow. Phone off, notifications silenced, a single task. Watch what happens. Pillar 2. Emotional regulation. The ability to understand, manage, and constructively direct your emotions is perhaps the most underrated form of intelligence in existence. Dr. Daniel Goleman, who popularized the concept of emotional intelligence, found that EQ, not IQ, was the strongest predictor of success in leadership, relationships, and long-term happiness. In his analysis of hundreds of companies, emotional intelligence was responsible for nearly 90% of what differentiated top performers from average ones at senior levels. Why? Because emotions are contagious. They affect decision-making. They determine how you treat people under pressure. They either sharpen your judgment or cloud it completely. Consider this. 2 surgeons of identical technical skill are in the operating room. A complication arises. Unexpected. Dangerous, requiring rapid problem solving. Surgeon A panics. Her cortisol levels spike. Her prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for rational decision-making, is partially hijacked by the amygdala's threat response. She hesitates, makes a suboptimal choice. Surgeon B takes a single conscious breath. He's trained mindfulness for 2 years. His parasympathetic nervous system engages. Cortisol stays manageable. His prefrontal cortex remains online. He assesses, decides, and acts.